Earlier this month, Jon Rahm became the most recent well-known player to sign with LIV Golf, but it's safe to say that the Masters champion hasn't always been a fan of the breakaway league. Jon Rahm could well be left rueing his previous comments on LIV Golf, after the Spaniard called on the breakaway league's players to be punished earlier this year. Rahm made golfing history earlier this month after signing a record-breaking deal with the LIV setup. Having previously pledged his loyalties to the PGA Tour, Rahm went back on his word to join the Saudi-backed series after signing a deal worth a reported £450 million. After calling for the players in the breakaway league to be punished earlier this year, Jon Rahm may be regretting his earlier remarks on LIV Golf. Earlier this month, Rahm signed a record-breaking contract with the LIV setup, making golfing history. Rahm renounced his earlier vow of allegiance to the PGA Tour and signed a contract worth an estimated £450 million to join the Saudi-backed series. Many were taken aback by the Masters champion's decision to move to Saudi Arabia because, despite his relative indifference during the golf industry's civil war, he had previously acknowledged having some issues with the LIV Tour. Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia was set to see the American-based circuit finally work in unison with their LIV rivals. In June, it appeared that the PGA Tour's battle with LIV was finally coming to an end in the way of a framework agreement. It was expected that as part of the deal, the tour would welcome back the players it had suspended for making the Saudi switch over the past 2 seasons. As part of this, the PGA Tour rolled out plans for a player discipline process that would help reinstate LIV players back into membership. Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia was expected to witness the American circuit at last cooperate with their LIV competitors. It was anticipated that the tour would reinstate the players it had suspended for switching to Saudi Arabia during the previous 2 seasons as part of the agreement. The PGA Tour announced plans to implement a player discipline procedure as part of this, which would aid in the reinstatement of LIV players into the organization. Rahm was among many who felt that returning players, like Rahm, should suffer some sort of punishment for leaving the PGA Tour before they could return despite the lucrative allure of their Saudi rivals. The Spaniard stated in July, just before switching to LIV, that I do think that some punishment should be in order, but I don't know what. That is the responsibility of the disciplinary board and other paid personnel. It's my responsibility to hit the golf ball as hard as I can. 5 months on Rahm could well be one of those players facing punishment for wanting to make a return to the PGA Tour, after signing with the Rebel League earlier this month. In the days following his mega money switch, Rahm's suspension from the PGA Tour was confirmed by circuit bosses. He does however hope he can play across both the PGA Tour and LIV, as well as the DP World Tour in the future. Prior to his suspension being announced, he said, "I do want to maintain my PGA Tour and DPWT status. I will not give that up. With the freedom LIV provides, hopefully, I'll be able to play both of those tours. If my schedule permits, there are specific PGA Tour events that I would like to participate in. If it's feasible, I would like to see that through." Rahm will continue to be eligible to compete on the DP World Tour going forward. Although the Wentworth-based circuit has the authority to fine and ban competitors who compete on the breakaway circuit, it is unable to completely suspend players for joining LIV Golf. In order to avoid additional sanctions, players like Sergio Garcia, Lee Westwood, and Ian Poulter have turned in their memberships with the tour.